Bakelite objects, and I try to, let's say, to combine all the two things together, putting all together in my ontology. I already displayed some time ago, the last year. Perhaps you remember the displays of the Tarantula collection, and this is here the yes, the graph, the super graph of my ontology. It contains about almost 6,000 nodes and about 10,000 connections between them. I am showing directly the connection to my database, who contains all the links to this. Here is a little bit, yes, an overview of the entities, but I don't enter so much in this. For example, one of the nodes is the nodes of the proceedings, and perhaps you remember this is old images from old proceedings. Now I'm going to the actual proceedings, and this is an overview of all these Bakelite objects I try to display. This is a very it's very last, but on the beginning I would say one of the interesting thing is I have so much objects, and I consider I like them very much, but the old objects are also always black and I call it almost monsters, because they have only the casing of the objects to hide perhaps all the mechanics inside, but I don't consider them really, let's say, nice. This is a little display of these objects I have, but I won't show them. They are very big. For example, if you look over there, this is one of this is a very heavy, big item used in banks. Or for example, here this is another exemplar. Now let's concentrate on Bakelite. Perhaps someone knows what this Bakelite is. A formaldehyde resin, and here is even some kind of formula invented in 1907 from a Belgic origin American. One of the first Bakelite objects, perhaps you remember, I already showed a little bit last year, or 2 years ago. This is a nice object. Since it's very small, I brought it with me. If someone wants to have a look, it's a Fowler long scale. No, this is a textile object. Textile circle slide rule. I tried to do a photograph which shows contemporary the backside and the inside and the casing. Yes, but it's not so interesting to see, because really all slide rule. I know there is a publication of David about Bakelite using in slide rules, but let's say in summary, with the production of Bakelite, the Bakelite shrinks a little bit, or is not so exactly been shrinking, and they abandoned very early this. And I find slide rules and or slide discs. I find only the casing in Bakelite. For example, there is a Russian perhaps someone knows of this KL1. This made from this Duraplast. Is a kind of Bakelite. It's a white Bakelite, let's say. Another interesting object is perhaps using Bakelite as a decorative part of an common object, an ideator. This is I have the exemplar here. If someone likes to touch it, because the Bakelite is also interesting. It's touching. It's very smooth and very comfortable to take in hand. This is the Raymond French production did also with the cheaper one with wood surrounding, but it's not so. I have one, but it's not very interesting. It's not so smooth. Yes, perhaps it's interesting. It's only one-sided, and cannot be really very well used. It's only for addition, really only for additions, and not for subtraction. Perhaps there is no backside as in other. For example, no, this is not a backside ideator, but we saw it sold yesterday. The known examples of the ideators is the Tronchet arithmograph, and there is a providing to do also subtractions with a kind of using the complementary numbers. Yes, the next step of calculating devices are the ideators, which has some more kind of using the subtractions. It's very interesting. The correntator, there are a lot of different kinds. The nicest is the correntator, a Swiss production. Perhaps if you have a look there, one of my intentions to do this ontology is to explain something without words. I don't have to see that is, perhaps you saw it, this is the Swiss flag. This Swiss is a very nice. It's very heavy. I couldn't bring it with me because it's so heavy. Because it has to be heavy to be in a desk to use it, and it has a flip of tin to do the additions and subtractions. This is interesting because it's very easy to use. The next step are the column adders. One of this is perhaps known, the ADIX. This is a very, let's say very simple. You can only add single numbers, single digits to do the additions of if you have to add long lists, like doing it by hand or by paper and pencil, and the casing around there are different kinds of developments of the ADIX type. This is Aderes. I have one. This is a casing. It's almost nice, I would say, because it's so smooth, but it's not really a design object, because I am also interested how much design could be used for this new kind of material. But it's a very interesting item. There are about 5 different brands who use this kind of column adder. Yes, perhaps you have seen these dialing adders. So this American dial adders, the lightning. This pen operated with a pen, and you have to dial the numbers to add them. They have the disadvantage they are very, very long items, and if you have to, you see the numbers very different, very distant from one to the other. There is not really the casing of the direct adder, but it's a casing where to put inside this metal, the casing in Bakelite, where to put the metal adder. Another interesting item is the transformation of an adiator to a kind of adiator, a pen-operated adiator, where you have a good, I would say, a good tens carry, because for an adiator you have always to do the tens carry for one position to the other, and this Swiss steamer, there are different kinds of steamers. This is one of the desktop items. Can do very nice the tens carry about not all the positions, because it's very hard, because it's also mechanically directly. I showed, I think last year I showed how to use it. When we go to the ordner type machines, we find some Bakelite casings. One of the interesting Bakelite casings is one of the Triumphator of Germany. It's a really late production of the 1960s. It's almost to say, almost. I cannot say it's ugly. It's a nice casing. It's rounded, but it's heavy. It's from white Bakelite and painted with some I don't remember, light green hammer tone, and so. And normally you find it very used, very torn off the green. Perhaps you saw in my photos I joined another object a little bit to accompany the objects to the proper machine, and here is a small case for cigarettes. A little bit further, it's not really Bakelite, it's a little bit, it goes to plastic, but it comes here in the selection of, yes, it's ordner type, but it's not an ordner type internally, but it's almost the same with the pin. No, there's not pin operated, it's inside the rocket, but this is only for specialists. Perhaps interesting is I found an electronic device. This is from Sharp, comes from the 80s even, and has Bakelite corner in top. It is electronic and contemporary Soroban inside. The use of this is very obscure, but perhaps the Japanese had to control something. Yes, to trust, or perhaps for velocity. Yeah. Then the bigger machines, really, yes, the really machines, let's say. One of these machines is the Swiss Direct 2, or the Direct has two machines. Here's the Direct 2. Full keyboard, of course key driven, and yes, a two-step operation that you have to do the number and then some crank to add or to zero. one of the interesting things of these big machines is the use of them, because perhaps you saw a comptometer. The comptometer were really hard to use because they are high, and they lowered them in the table, inside the table, but it was high. It was really a stress to the hands of the operating, always women. A stress, and there were almost never providing to reduce the stress, to do some more, yes, let's say ergonomic. I found one Italian production. It is called Vinci, which you can see has a. Oh yes, the pointer is on top. Yeah, you can see before. This one. Yeah, perhaps. Here you see there's some place. I don't really know if it's made for ergonomic reasons, or perhaps for technical reasons. But it's very interesting because when you use it, you can put your wrists there and use the more comfortable, let's say. Another product is this tachometer, and I think here there is still more room, and the use is is easier to use because you have the wrist rest, and it was very soon observed that even the people with the full keyboard wasn't using all the full keyboard, only till 5, and this it was a little bit beveled. I don't so much go into the details of the beauty. Perhaps you saw the different in the Italian version it was very rounded, and this version here is a little bit edgy, let's say, a little bit beveled. Some elements really of design. The use of the only 5 forward keys brought to the same in the same brand, in Danish brand from Denmark, to this small, let's say 5 tachometer 5, where you have to use the numbers above 5 to use two keys, but it's interesting, but because you don't have to move all the hand or the forehand, and you can do it almost blindly. Yes, the same is done with the another version. It's even Danish. I don't know because why they did so much. Yes, with Bakelite and ergonomic, interesting things. This context, this is context A. This is the first version. There are other versions. Here you see the British. The British.
Thing, the ball.
What?
Ball. What is that?
What is it?
Next to the object next to
The ball is a ink pot. This is, I liked only the form. Yes, but I have a collection of objects, general objects, and I thought, what could I confront with this?
That's for the coffee.
It has not. What is?
That's for the coffee.
This for the coffee? No, this is an ink pot. You can see here the version I swapped with David. Perhaps yes, one here, but it is perhaps at the end. I propose to touch this because I like always the touching. One has to touch it for a display.
Can we touch it? Give it through then, maybe.
Yes, then. Yeah, there were some copies later on. This also made of some phenol bakelite. Not so nice, but it's interesting. The difference of design difference. The keys are quadratic, and yes, the gray form, the gray color is perhaps more. Yes, it is a question of time. It's a little bit later. 65. It is very late on. Another kind of five. What you're?
A small thing next to it.
Yes, the small thing. This is only the form. Another kind of this 4-5 keyboard is interesting because it's really hard to use because it's so high. It's like a countermeasure so high, and I don't even imagine how it could be used. It only advantage was perhaps that the register is before the keyboard. The Czechs in Czechoslovakia produced with the patent of context a little bit similar one, even more smooth item because yes, perhaps you see another view of this. This is yes, and the Czech really did some of this yes, streamline styling, let's say. Let's go to one that is very earlier. One of the German Astra or ACA products. It's not really nice, but it's interesting because the keyboard is very low, and when it's low, it's not so difficult to use. Let's say. Yes, the most known image of him. He built dark brown casing. An English version is existing with a full keyboard, with of course to the right the numbers up to 11, and yes, the form is almost the same, and it's white and then produced in the UK. Another of when we have using the 10 keyboard, the normal keyboard we know for the moment, is this German NFI. It's green, little bit streamlined, not so very much, but
Is that electromechanic?
No. There is one electromechanic one, but which what I showing here is no. It's mechanic. It's only mechanic.
Oh, yeah,
you have to crank. But no, they didn't even produce one with a motor inside. This is only produced in Nuremberg, Germany. The Brunswiga had only one production with a Bakelite casing, a brown Bakelite with a green hammer painting, and had very few success because it is almost blocked after a kind of some use. Mine also is blocked, and I couldn't do anything. I don't know how much exemplars they produced. Not so much. It said this was not a success. It's a kind of copy, let's say, not directly a copy, but kind of the facet had some with the 10th keyboard. This is the only one with mechanical in meteorology, volcanology, seismology. And in the 19th century, there was the most known specialist about seismology, and he developed some instruments. They are shown there. I hope I could even do some exposition of calculating devices there, and yes, I thank you. Perhaps we see about 2 years. Thank you.